We're going to call the meeting to order. We have to introduce ourselves today. Should they do that? Okay. I'll be leading the meeting tonight. Lead us away. I'm Frederick Brookhouse, Supervisor.
Dave Kurtson, County Board Supervisor, District 15.
Aaron Carroll, County Board Supervisor, District 23.
Julia Robinson, County Board Supervisor, District 5.
Olivia Gergen-Yeg. Kendall Grand-Yeg.
Eric Meadows, Supervisor, District 18.
Shelley Billingsley, Director of Public Works and Development Services.
Chris Walton, Finance, Public Works.
April Webb, Planning Office.
Debbie Merrill, Finance Director.
Andy Bueller, Director of Planning and Development.
So, what's the procedure tonight? Somebody give me some guidance here.
Yeah, so basically, item number 1 is to go through the UW extension budget.
So you have to do citizens comments or whatever. I mean, do you have?
That's the
You
agenda.
guys do that afterwards? Oh,
And so, I guess with that being the case, I mean, we have Chris here that he works with us for budgets, here to present the UW extension budget.
Yes, welcome. Please
Thanks.
proceed.
glad to be here. So I think this is everybody's second year, of going through this format of how we present the budget. First we'll go over UW extension, and you guys can vote your approval, yes or no, and then we go to the development, same thing. So page 1 is the UW extension office budget. Very, very little change, from last year. That should say 25 budget, not 24 budget. In the first column. In salary, what that is a seasonal part-time position, that helps the horticulturist, take care of the arboretum out here and the garden and walking path. Several trees, plants, berries, roots, they help maintain throughout the year. The next column for the contracted services, this is pretty much this is the only increase, from 25 to 26. The other professional services, if you flip to page 2, that is solely this 136 agreement with the addition of, I think, $200 or $300 for the cost of their end of year report that you put together. But what you see here is the typical 3% increase that we see year after year, for these educators. I think this might actually be the first year that we have been fully staffed for several months in a row. I think it was February or March that they've been fully staffed from. So that's great news. In regards to budget, we only pay for when the positions are filled. There is no paying for vacancy and filling or back pay or anything like that. As long as it's filled, we pay. If it's not, we do not. Going back to page 1. The supplies account, absolutely no changes, from 2025 budget. And the insurance, the public liability insurance with a decrease. And that's just simply the allocation that we get from finance. Overall, the budget for UW specifically went up 2.4%, which is the 3% of the other professional services. Is there any questions on the office portion of UW extension?
What's the actual cost this year projected? You have that?
Or,
So this is the budgeted amount?
yeah,
Usually it's good to see the actual, so that way we get a picture for, is it worth budgeting that much or not? I think it's fine for this.
everything.
I was just curious.
So the way that we put forth the next year's budget is we take a look at all the historical costs, see how that compared to not only last year, but the history, because we don't want to just base it simply off one unique event. So yes, a lot of these pretty much are what they come in at. Unless the position isn't filled, there's usually not much of a return to the general ledger over.
Right. Thanks.
There's no other questions. We'll flip to page 3. These are kind of like subdivisions of the extension program. The first one is UW Extension Programs. These are what all of the educators run throughout the year. It is levy neutral. We just pretty much budget it at and estimating what they're going to expend and what they receive. If they do receive more than what they expend, we do carry that over year after year, so they can have funds in their program account. We have it specifically in projects in our ledger, and roll that over year after year. The UW Extension After School Program, I did actually look today to see if we had spent anything. It doesn't look like it. I know when COVID hit, that kind of hurt that program a little bit. We do just still budget in case that program does pick back up. We have the spending authority for it to happen.
Current plans and spend some of that.
Okay, well, perfect. The educator does plan on actually utilizing this program next year. And that is UW Extension.
Because you mentioned that the programs is a carryover. Curious what the carryover is.
What is there? Probably 10 to 12 programs.
Yeah.
And I think in total it was around 20 grand.
So it's currently available to carry over.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So, let's vote on this.
Motion to approve the UW extension budget proposal.
Second.
Let's you vote,
Aye.
committee,
Aye.
approved.
We'll move on to page 4. This is the planning and development budget. The high level summaries is what you'll see in the box on the top. I'll kind of go over some of the things that happen and go. So currently, a lot of the finance positions within the county are in the finance budget, and then they're allocated out to each division or department that they serve. Same was the case for the admin assistant senior, which is April. Logistically wise, we made a change to have them have her position put back into planning and development. All it is a difference of moving the line item from interdepartment, breaking it out amongst the personnel, the salaries, medical, retirement, life insurance, yada, yada. And logistically, that's because right now it would be Nick and I overseeing her and not being in the same office and department and their needs and the time card and all the other things. It just makes sense to kind of have her as a P&D employee. Not that finance is completely wiping their hands of what we do with April. She still saves all the same duties, tasks, whatever. It's just simply who she reports to and what department she falls in. So having that change, I made all the comments on this first page as if that change didn't happen, just so you can kind of see what the true changes are for the department, which salaries decreased based on one of the tenured employees retired, and we hired typically when that happens, not always, typically hires slightly cheaper. Is that the right word? Cheaper is not the right word. Lower.
Let's go over.
Yeah. For that position, and that's what happened there. Medical insurance increased just based on personal selections in the county allocation. And interdepartment, if you're looking actually in the budget book, it dropped drastically, but again, that's because the admin senior's position moved out. However, if that didn't happen, it would have increased for the full year allocation of the GIS position that serves all of DPW. The contracted services. So we've broken this out year after year just to try and give a visualization of what the contracted services are and what the inspection services are of that. Being the inspection services are more somewhat new with regard to some of the contracts and the townships that we serve. So in 2025, we based the budget off of what we projected we could possibly see as quantity and dollars and service. In 2020, 2024, the number is vastly past that. They were closer into the 600 range, which is why you see that number jump from around 200, 290 up to 600. 2024 was the first year that we had a full year of those services, so no, 24 was the first year we had a full year of it. 25, the budget was already in while 24 was doing, so now 26 is the first year that we budget for what we've seen historically. I have looked at the numbers today. They are slightly down from what we've seen in 24. Ultimately, it doesn't have much effect. What we take in is what we give out, so it nets to zero regardless. Except for the fact where zoning comes into play. Those are contractual based where we keep the revenue, whether it's short or over. And that's why there's a note where it says budget represents Village of Salem Lakes contract renewal at same cost. Right now, the department's going through the final details of what that contract may or may not be. So that could have a change on what the 26 budget will. At the same time, the department's going out to RFP for the building inspection services, which could potentially change some of the fees, which Supervisor Gertson did reach out and asked if we looked at that. We'll look at those all at the same time as all the others happening, because some things are contingent upon the other. So rather than putting something in here at best guess, we want to see what we get, and then a resolution will come forward at the beginning of next year, and hopefully we can take care of all the budget adjustments that need to happen all at one time. Other than that, that's pretty much it. The inspection services, you'll see a difference between 640 and 600. That's simply because if we do get a whole bunch of requests, we have the ability to reach out to a third-party vendor to help take some of that workload off of staff. And because of all of that happening with the staff, more times than not taking on the bulk of or burden of that, it actually results in a levy decrease, which is why you see around the 20 grand net at the bottom. The inspection expense went up 350, while the revenue went up 405. So the revenue outweighed the expense, decreases the levy, and we'll see how that plays out in 2026 when these final adjustments happen. I'll pause there just to see if there's any questions. I know that was a lot and it's definitely confusing with all the different moving parts, so.
Okay, two questions. I know you said that the health insurance depends on personal selections, the county allocation, blah, 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 but that number is still going up, 31%.
So two things that happen with that. One, it goes up on its own. The other, where it was built into interdepartment, line item 519900, that should have gone down roughly 80 to 90. A portion of that would be the county's allocation for the admin assistance.
Okay,
Cost.
so the admin assistant
Yeah.
drops there. Okay. All right. Got it. Okay. And then going back to the contractual, in line item, I'm looking at, let's see, I'm looking on page 150 of the budget book.
So you're likely, are you at 200 to 215?
I'm looking at the 547 to the 906. Well, the final projected budget of the 849, 810 up to, so thank you. Like all the different pages, not having our line items, I can't.
You're looking at page 156.
150.
Oh, 150.
To development where it has contractual.
547 to 906.
So our adopted budget had us at 547. In June, we adopted and modified it up to 605. Projected for the end of the year is 849.8, and the proposed 26 is 9061. So can you just run by me again, what's been happening with our contracted services so that it is
So this is,
a big jump
yeah,
again,
this is where all the building inspection
right?
expenses come out of. Budget wise, we didn't have anything to really base it off of. So in 25, half of that is the sewer back contract.
Okay.
Which is a rate that's just given to us. That went from 200 to 215. So in 2025, that was 200 of the 247. The other 247-ish, minus some other line items that might be in there, is a good majority of the building inspections. So when that comes in at 200, and then our actuals are 600 for the year, now that total line item jumps up to 800 for the year. And then in 25, we tried to replicate what happened in that
Right.
budget. So yes, it did very much so do this, but that's just because we really didn't have hard
The history.
numbers to
Okay.
base the.
I just wanted to make sure I was understanding.
Yes.
Thank you.
But the question that, I'm sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
but the question that it sounds like he emailed you is what is about the fee structure that we do, how much control over that? Is that what you're gonna ask too?
Yeah. Well, through the chair, if I get the floor, through the chair to Chris, so, on the fees we talked about last year, when do you expect to bring a resolution up, during the year, next year?
I would expect early January, February.
Q1?
Yeah, Q1 for sure.
Right,
Simply because that contract, the RFP, I think goes out this week. Or-
But end of October
Okay,
for the RFP for building services. And we should have a better understanding of Village of Salem Lakes in the next week or so.
so
Yeah, so in regards to the fees with the building inspection, is the building inspector gets paid a percentage of the fees. So that's why the fees need to be looked at, because whoever we end up going with, they'll understand what their revenue is based upon our fees. And so we'll need to have our fees in line with everything.
So all of that brings us to pretty much November, work through it, put a resolution together. There should be no reason that doesn't happen by November.
and then we'll look at all the fees, not just
Correct.
one class or another of fees.
Right.
We'll look at all,
Okay.
and you'll bring that into us, so we may have a mid-year revenue change. Positive or negative, but we'll see what happens.
100%.
That seems sensible. If try to swag it and have to redo it anyway.
Right.
I don't, that all seems good. I yield.
Additional questions?
Okay, I will flip, there is planning development does have capital, say small, but dollar wise, it's certainly not small. There is a vehicle put in, for 50,000, that is the, I always get them mixed up, sanitarian vehicle. They were actually supposed to have a lease halfway through 2026, at what time we would no longer extend the lease and purchase. However, that vehicle was in an accident earlier in the year. Still working through human services. I believe that kind of took us out of the lease. It wasn't on their last invoice for when they had to pay leases. They're waiting to see what happens with October, if there's any residual or whatever, but regardless, the dollars are in there for 26. So actually at the turn of the year, we could actually get the vehicle sooner rather than later. And then some dollars would be saved within the budget because we wouldn't expend the operational. And then the South Pike Restoration Project. These numbers here, if you tie out to what we've already budgeted, match exactly what was presented. This would kind of be that worst case scenario where we would need to bond 2.5 million for the project. The total of the 14 gives us the spending authority. The 2.5 is what we would end up bonding if need be.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chair to Chris again on the pipe. This is like a technical or mechanical question. I thought we approved that. I thought we approved the budget and the bonding already.
I'll defer, Patty.
The initial resolution for the bonding was approved, but there was not a budget ratification for the actual project. So that's why it's in the CIP now.
Oh,
There will not be another initial resolution. When the initial resolution comes forward for the bonding in this budget, that will not be included because we have that.
okay. So our policy that I remember is if we approve a capital project, that carries forward and you don't have to keep bringing it back for reapproval. But we didn't approve the capital, we approved the bonding, but not the capital.
Yeah.
I thought we approved the whole shebang.
I thought so too, until we looked more into that.
But good thing we're approving it.
Together.
Yeah, good thing you caught that $15 million project. But, all right, that's my question. Thank you.
There's no other capital. We will look for the last page 6. The bottom 3 of this don't really apply to the others. We always just kind of put in, as miscellaneous within planning. The only one that actually has any type of levy impact is the Board of Adjustments. Very minor, but you can see I reduced that by $200 just based on what we've been seeing as actuals year after year after year. The rest of these, you may see like in land and water where I created another account of other operating supplies of 500 just because that's where things are actually charging. I like to try and break it out rather than, some things are good to keep in general. Some things it's easier if we just break out the line item and show a little bit more transparency. $500 change here, $600 change there. Overall, no change to the actual budget. These are all levy neutral. Whatever they receive is what they can spend. So with the inclusion of those top 4 ones, that is all D&D's budget.
And I just make one comment on Board of Adjustments. So this next year, we're looking at making a modification to our ordinance that would move temporary uses from the Board of Adjustment to this committee.
Oh,
Because temporary uses, we feel, is very similar to conditional uses. In fact, they're exactly the same, except they can only be granted for a year. In the Board of Adjustments, it just doesn't seem like that. It's a good place for that to go because of how we have to go through the process and the conditions that get put in place and the follow-up that we do. So we're actually making a proposal when we do some amendments to our ordinance through this winter, just change that, which would mean that this number would change drastically. Not that it matters really, but 50% of the items that go before the Board of Adjustments are temporary uses right now. So that then this, in a sense, could almost drop in half. But you guys will be a little bit busier.
So I yield any questions. That's my spiel.
Any questions from the committee?
Andy, what number were you saying it's gonna drop in half the per diem?
Basically, probably that whole section. The whole cost will probably be less. I mean, we'll have to monitor next year.
The 2,689.
Right. Yeah, that whole thing will probably drop, but what we'll do is we'll monitor next year on how that changes, and then we'll have a better idea for 27.
And then is that a $50 or $100 per diem that they get?
What did the April they get per medium? Yeah,
Well,
I think
okay.
so.
But then, now, the Board of Adjustment, aren't they used if it's an independent matter that should not be handled by government, or is that?
Well, the main function of the Board of Adjustments is to review variances where they ask for a deviation and then they act as a quasi judicial board.
Yeah,
So that's typically what goes before. And we just have had so little of variances going before them and so many more temporary uses like fireworks stands and, food trucks and things like that, you know, with that change and if their functioning is they kind of solely are supposed to function, they just won't have as many meetings. We used to meet twice a month and then now we're down to once a month and it'll probably be almost every other month.
These temporary uses, I don't know why they ever went to Board of Adjustment.
Well, it's interesting. It's always been in the ordinance that way. And I guess since we've had more of an influx the last 5 years, we've just come to realize that it's not the best place for it. Other counties handle it through the committee as well. So it's not unusual for us to make that change.
That's my question.
Ask for a motion at this point.
Move to approve the E&D budget.
Second.
Second. Okay. Big, how do you vote?
Aye.
Committee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Anything else that was great to share with us?
It just says everything.
there any citizen comments? The next is our chairman, committee members, supervisors.
Any citizens comments? Any citizens comments? Any committee comments at this point?
Move to approve. I mean, move to leave. Sure.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.